She stood at the altar as Carla Connor, radiant, glowing, delivering one of the most talked-about weddings in Coronation Street history. But behind that smile, behind every scene of the Corrie crossover, behind every second of the Swirlo wedding that fans are still gushing about, Alison King was falling apart. And for months, she said nothing. Now, in a raw and emotional video, the soap icon has finally broken her silence, revealing a devastating chain of events involving grief, illness, and a battle with depression that unfolded entirely out of view of the cameras. Today we're breaking down exactly what Alison King said, why it's left fans reevaluating everything they thought they knew about her recent Corrie appearances, and what it means for one of British television's most enduring stars. If you're new here, welcome to the channel, and if you love Coronation Street news, drop a subscribe before we dive in, because this is one of the most personal stories to come out of Weatherfield in a long time. So, let's set the scene. Earlier this year, Coronation Street delivered two of its biggest storylines in recent memory. There was the Corrie crossover, a landmark event that had fans buzzing for weeks, and then came the Swirlo wedding, the historic marriage between Carla Connor and Lisa Swain, played by Vicky Myers, a moment being hailed as a first in soap history for going off without a single on-screen calamity. It was billed as a joyous, tear-jerking, laugh-out-loud celebration, and by most accounts, it delivered exactly that on screen. But here's where things get complicated. Around the same time these massive, high-profile events were airing, a section of the fanbase started to grumble. Complaints began circulating online that Alison King seemed to have less screen time than expected, and some viewers even suggested her energy on screen felt different, even accusing her of a lack of enthusiasm during scenes that should have been triumphant for her character. For an actress who has anchored Coronation Street as Carla Connor since 2006, who has weathered nearly 2 decades of the show's biggest storylines, that kind of criticism stings. And as it turns out, the timing could not have been more painfully ironic. Because while fans were online debating her screen presence, Alison King was privately dealing with one of the hardest stretches of her life. For those who don't follow every twist of the cobbles, let's back up and talk about who Alison King actually is, because her journey with this show is remarkable in itself. Alison was born in Leicester, and before she ever set foot on a soap set, she trained at the North Cheshire Theatre School and cut her teeth on shows like Dream Team, where she played the sharp, ambitious Linda Block. When she landed the role of Carla Connor on Coronation Street in 2006, nobody could have predicted just how central that character would become to the show's DNA. Carla has been through addiction storylines, business empires rising and collapsing, devastating relationships, and a landmark psychosis storyline that Alison herself has said she approached with a real sense of responsibility, consulting with mental health professionals to portray the condition with honesty and care. In 2012, that dedication earned her the British Soap Award for Best Actress. In short, Alison King isn't just a cast member. She's one of the pillars the show is built on. Which is exactly why this new revelation has hit fans so hard. In a video posted to TikTok, Alison sat down and spoke candidly about what had really been happening behind the scenes over the past year. She explained that the trouble began with profound personal loss. Last August, she lost her mother. And if losing a parent wasn't already an enormous weight to carry, what came next compounded it in a way few people would expect. At the start of this year, while filming on set, Alison picked up a chest infection, and according to her account, the source was surprisingly ordinary. 2 babies working on the show at the time. What started as a seemingly minor illness spiraled. She described a relentless, punishing cough that wouldn't let up, one that left her right lung aching and her chest in genuine pain. And the timing could not have been worse, because this was happening right as she was filming the emotionally demanding Swirlo wedding episodes, the very scenes fans were watching and, in some cases, criticizing. Alison explained that her nervous system essentially needed to be rebalanced after everything her body had been through. For months, she said, she simply couldn't do the things that normally kept her grounded. She couldn't exercise. She couldn't swim, which she described as her go-to form of therapy, something she relies on constantly to stay mentally centered. Struggling to breathe fully, unable to move her body the way she was used to, she found herself gaining weight, and that combination of physical limitation and change in her body took a serious toll on her mental health. In her own words, she admitted that not being able to do anything active, paired with the weight gain, left her genuinely depressed. She also mentioned that a persistent twitch developed in her eye following the illness, and that on top of the physical struggles, there was simply what she called other life stuff piling up, all of it feeding into a nervous system that felt completely out of balance. It's a lot to process, and it's easy to see why the video struck such a nerve online. Now here's where the story gets genuinely moving, because Alison didn't just share the hardship, she also shared where she's landed now. Toward the end of the video, she reassured fans that she is currently feeling good and happy. She showed clips of herself undergoing alternative wellness treatments, including reflexology and Reiki sessions with a close friend, practices she credits as part of her path back to feeling like herself. It was a vulnerable, unfiltered look at recovery, not a polished press statement, but a genuine, in-the-moment update from someone who clearly wanted her fans to understand the full picture rather than just the headlines. And fans responded. Almost immediately after the video started circulating, social media lit up with a wave of support and a fair amount of collective guilt from those who had been critical of her screen time earlier in the year. Comment sections filled with viewers expressing that they had no idea what she'd been dealing with, and many pointed out that this is exactly why people need to be more careful about jumping to conclusions regarding actors' behavior on screen. One recurring sentiment across platforms was simple: nobody truly knows what someone is carrying behind the scenes. Others specifically referenced the loss of her mother, noting that grief combined with a prolonged illness that left her struggling to breathe properly is an almost unimaginable combination to be working through while simultaneously filming some of the biggest episodes of the year. There was also a broader conversation that sprang up around the toxic side of fan culture, with several viewers using the moment to call out the tendency for online audiences to criticize actors without any awareness of what might be happening in their personal lives. It's worth pointing out that this isn't the first time a Coronation Street star has used their platform to speak honestly about mental health. The show itself has tackled depression and psychological struggle on screen for years, from storylines around postnatal depression to psychosis, and cast members past and present have occasionally opened up about their own real-life battles, whether that's collapsing on set from exhaustion-related illness or spending time in psychiatric care after reaching a genuine breaking point. What makes Alison's disclosure stand out is the format. This wasn't a scripted interview with a magazine or a carefully worded statement released through a publicist. It was raw, unedited, and posted directly to her fans on TikTok, which naturally makes it feel more intimate and more real, and that authenticity is a huge part of why it resonated so strongly. So what does this mean going forward, both for Alison and for Carla Connor as a character? On the personal side, the biggest takeaway is simply that Alison appears to be on the mend. Her closing message was one of positivity, telling fans she's in a good place now after actively working on her recovery through rest, alternative therapies, and presumably the support of the people around her. For an actress who has spent nearly 2 decades carrying one of the show's most complex characters, that kind of honesty about needing to slow down and heal is significant, and it may well shift the conversation around her recent performances. Scenes that some viewers read as low energy or muted may now be viewed through an entirely different lens, one of an actress pushing through physical illness and emotional grief while still showing up to deliver for the show and its audience. As for Carla Connor, there's no indication that any of this will directly affect the character's storyline, since this is very much a real-life, behind-the-scenes situation rather than a plot development. But it does raise interesting questions about pacing. If Alison genuinely needed time to recover her strength, it wouldn't be surprising to see Carla's storylines ease up slightly in the coming weeks, giving the actress room to fully step back into her rhythm without the punishing schedule that likely contributed to her burnout in the first place. Fans are already speculating online about whether the show's writers might lean into a slightly quieter chapter for Carla, at least for now, following the emotional whirlwind of her wedding to Lisa and the ongoing fallout from the mystery surrounding Betsy's shocking discovery. There's also a broader conversation bubbling up among the fanbase about how audiences engage with actors on social media in the first place. Several commentators have pointed to the story as a reminder that criticism aimed at cast members, especially around something as subjective as screen presence or energy, can land in ways people never intend, especially when that person is quietly dealing with grief and illness at the same time. It's sparked renewed calls within fan communities for a bit more grace and patience before jumping to conclusions about what's happening on the other side of the screen. Some fans are also wondering whether this might lead to Coronation Street incorporating a version of Alison's real experience into a future storyline, given the show's long history of exploring mental health themes with sensitivity, much like it did with Carla's own psychosis storyline years ago. That's speculation for now, nothing confirmed, but it wouldn't be the first time real-life experience has shaped the direction of a soap character's journey. So to wrap it all up, here's where things stand. Alison King, the actress behind Carla Connor for nearly 20 years, has revealed that a devastating combination of grief following the loss of her mother, a serious chest infection contracted on set, and the physical toll that illness took on her body led her into a genuine struggle with depression earlier this year, all while she was filming some of Coronation Street's biggest recent storylines, including the Swarla wedding. She shared this deeply personal update via TikTok, explaining how the inability to exercise or swim, combined with weight gain and a nervous system in need of rebalancing, weighed heavily on her mental health. The good news is that she says she's now in a genuinely better place, having leaned into recovery through rest and alternative therapies like reflexology and Reiki. Fans have responded with an outpouring of support, along with a broader reckoning about how quickly online criticism can miss the full picture of what someone is actually going through. It's a powerful reminder that even the most familiar faces on our screens are dealing with real struggles most of us never see, and Alison King's willingness to be this open about it has clearly struck a chord with the Coronation Street community. That's the full story for now, but as always, we'll keep you updated the moment there's more news on Alison King, Carla Connor, or anything else happening on the cobbles. Let us know in the comments what you think about this story, and whether it's changed how you're viewing her recent scenes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe for more Coronation Street updates, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story from Weatherfield. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.